Hi, I'm Natalie Jill, fat loss expert turned high performance coach. When odds are stacked against us, how do we shift and create everything from nothing? How do we level up when we aren't feeling it yet or we've had a big setback? On this podcast, I'll be talking to some of the most inspiring and courageous men and women on this planet who, at their worst, learned how to achieve success greater than they ever dreamed possible, leveling up and creating everything from nothing. After an amazing 20-year career with Oprah Winfrey, Sheri Salata's action-packed days as an executive producer were chronicled in the acclaimed docuseries Season 25, Oprah Behind the Scenes. Sheri also served as co-president of Harpo Studios and OWN. But now in her 60s, Sheri was ready to fully live a present life. She is now the co-founder of thepillarlife.com and co-host of the podcast, The Sheri Nancy Show. She's also the author of a powerful book, The Beautiful No. Join in today and learn exactly how Sheri Salata leveled up and created everything from nothing. Today on Leveling Up, I've got Sheri Salata, who at age 59 is a first-time author, podcast co-host, and entrepreneur. And this is not who she always was. So Sheri, thank you so much for being here today on Leveling Up.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here and have this conversation.
Yeah. So Sheri, so you are a young 59, which is incredible. You are an example of aging in reverse, which is what my book is called. Tell me, because you had a very different life up until recently. Who were you before? What you do now?
Well, it was a very twisty road, but for the last 20 something years, I was a producer working for Oprah Winfrey.
Wow. That's a dream job for most.
It is. And a dream job for me too. So
yeah.
I did finally at age 35, which was not considered young at the time, I was able to manifest an entry-level position working at the Oprah Winfrey Show. And that literally became my path, my purpose, my career with meaning, my joy, my devotion for over 20 years.
So back up, because I have to ask, because I know listeners are wondering this too. Like, how do you manifest that job? Because that's incredible.
Well, here's what everybody should feel very comforted by, because all the years before that, the 14 years out of college, I had a twisty-turny road that was filled with mistakes and false starts and crazy jobs. I mean, I managed toy stores. I managed a 7-Eleven. I was a typist in a typing pool. Mm-hmm. So it took me quite a while to find my way. And it probably wasn't until I literally felt like such a failure, so hopeless, so out of gas, so disappointed in myself, and actually feeling like everybody in my life was disappointed in me too. And I finally was like, well, I guess it's not going to happen for me when everything shifted. And I would say it was that release. I stopped trying so hard. I stopped trying so hard to have the great job. I really just let go.
So what was going on through your mind with that? Because a lot of people, I feel, struggle with this whole, like, maybe they're not living their calling or their purpose. Like, what was going on in your life? Was it because you had just done too many things, or was it not what you thought you would be? Like, what was happening in your mind with all of that?
Well, I would say, looking back, it was, I wasn't willing to make happiness my compass, which is now the theme of my life. You lean into joy. When you lean into joy, you are always on the right path. Instead, I wouldn't consider what made me happy. I would get any old thing going, and I would get very efforting. I would be all in a place of to-doing and to-do lists and trying to make something happen instead of aligning with the force and allowing it to happen and manifesting something. So that's where I think that I kept like chasing myself around in circles in my 20s and early 30s.
Why do you think this happens to so many people when they get in that spot of this chase or looking and, like you said, chasing, going around in circles?
Well, I think I would absolutely say this is a spiritual and an emotional issue where you're so eager to get to the destination that you don't stop to notice you're going down the wrong road.
Oh, that's actually really insightful there, because you're right. People get chased on that destination, not even looking at what's happening right now, what they're doing, what they're living through.
Exactly. And not taking a moment to say, hey, let me check in. Is this right? Do I feel happy? Is joy bubbling up? I would just keep, because I was more concerned with pace. I have to find the right job. I have to get promoted. I have to turn this into my path to retirement. And that turned out to be to be the long road around. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
look back in, that didn't have to be like that. I could
No,
have
my
checked
gosh.
in. I
And
could have checked in.
I know people listening can totally relate to this.
Yeah.
And when we hear, be in the present moment, think about, live the joy now, and then the rest comes. But we do get into that chase.
I know. And you know what? Here's the truth. We don't quite believe it. And that's what I'm going to tell you. At 56 years old, I finally decided to believe it. And everybody can save themselves decades of heartache if you are just willing to believe it. That meditation works, that mindfulness works, not just to reduce stress, but to literally help you manifest the life of your dreams.
Oh, okay. So talk to me about the producer role at Oprah, because literally, like you said that, and I lit up. Everyone that hears it lit up. You thought that this was like the dream job, you manifested it, whatever. What was happening when you actually achieved that, and how were you feeling?
Well, and that was a story of manifestation. I had applied for an entry-level job as a promo producer, and I got turned down. You're not what we're looking for, is what the message the woman left for me. And I'm not one of those kind of keep going at it kind of people. I take a no. I take a no.
But hearing those words, you're not what we're looking for, that had to have done something to like.
Oh, well, of course, I felt like it confirmed my worst lack of worthiness issues. That, of course, I'm not what you're looking for. Of course, I'm not Oprah show material.
Wow.
And I went about my business, and then I was like, okay, let me go back. I was an advertising agency producer by that time, and let me just try to get a better job at a bigger agency and see if I can make that work. And right about when I thought I was getting a big job in advertising, and that turned out to be a heartbreaking disappointment when I didn't get it. And a little bit shortly after that, there was another message on my answering machine saying, hey, this is so-and-so at the Oprah show. We were cleaning out an old closet and found your resume and your VHS of commercials. Will you come in? Will you come in and talk to us? So it was a total, like, I was in complete release.
Yeah.
The universe lined it all up, as complicated and challenging as that must have been. And in I walked at 35 years old in an entry-level job to start my dream career.
Wow. Okay. So you're in your dream career.
Yeah.
You believe it's going to be your dream career. Did it feel like it when you were there?
Oh, for sure. It absolutely was. It was an absolute dream. My soul was on fire. I knew what a privilege it was to serve on that show. I knew that what we were about was way more than a television show, and I believed in the mission. So for those decades, it was absolutely my dream career. Now, but what was happening simultaneously that I didn't quite put together till I left to work for myself was that I had manifested a dream career, but I hadn't manifested a dream life.
Oh, okay. Explain what that means.
Well, what that means is, I tend, like, if, we all have our survival skills, how we manage stress, how we respond to the conditions of life. And I tend to default to things I do well. So I like to get A's. I don't want to fail. And I don't want to fail to such a degree that if there's an area of my life that's hard, like health and wellness, or an area of my life that I find challenging, like romantic relationships, it's like after a couple failures, I'll say, okay, I'm going to go back to this career thing and put 99% of my time there because that's where I shine. And over years and years and years, all of a sudden it's like, okay, here I have this really great job. Well, let me give you this great exercise. I love this so much. And many wisdom keepers have used this to kind of get you to wake up. And you imagine you're walking through a cemetery you just visualize that. Is it
Mm-hmm.
like a meadow? Is it cold and gray? Is it warm? Are there wildflowers? And you see a headstone, and it's
Mm-hmm.
yours, and there's your name, and what does it say under your name? And that sentence is the headline of your life. And
Mm.
when I did that exercise, it said Sheri Salata. She had a great job for a long time.
Whoa.
And
I
I
just got
went,
chills hearing
yeah,
listening to
I
that.
went,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, well, is that, now here I am at the time, I'm 56 years old. And now, as you and I both know, in this modern day, if you start making the moves to take care of yourself and with the advances science is making, you might just be halfway through your life. You might not
Mm.
just be getting ready to retire. You might be halfway through your life. And what are you going to do with that second half? Are you
Yeah.
are you ready to dream new dreams? Are you ready to stir things up? And that's what I said to myself. What are the dreams that I haven't made come true? What are the areas of my life that I'm willing to do some new dreaming in and begin to manifest those dreams?
Now that must have been super challenging because I hear the example and I can completely relate to saying that because my gosh, I just scared myself with what my headstone was saying about working and running around like crazy like that. But like how do you stop that hamster wheel? Because if all you've known is chase, create, become this for this person, be in this, like that's all you've known.
Right.
And now you've like almost made it into this big thing, but you realize there's still something lacking. Like, how do you shift when you logically know that? But it's just like, how do you do that?
Well, there are those voices that start to nag at you. And there is that it becomes undeniable as your life starts to scream at you. And finally you say, are you willing to do what's necessary to be happy?
Mm.
Are you willing to begin to walk the path toward happiness? Are you willing to make happiness your compass?
No, let me ask you, what were you not happy with now? Because like you said, I had a dream job, I was in the right vision, but I had this realization it's not really what I wanted in my life. But would you have thought of yourself as happy? Like what was happening in that conversation?
Well, listen, over time, it's you begin to like hear those voices and you're like, okay, well, and you start to justify and rationalize kind of like, I have friends who have raised great kids and they're like, well, at least I raised great kids, or, maybe my marriage isn't filled with passion and isn't as exciting as, it was 30 years ago, but at least we haven't gotten divorced. We start to settle. As time goes on, there's something culturally that happens, especially for women, I think, where you just start to think, well, I guess, geez, I had that great job. Listen, if you've spent most of your life working for Oprah, check the box. It's like people are like, okay, you've done something with yourself. But I knew differently. I knew that I want great romantic, passionate love. I want a spiritual partner. I want to build the body of my dreams and to feel healthy. Like every day I'm moving toward that dreamy body I've always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I want to feel like my life is integrated, that it's not just,
Yeah.
that everything is about being in service to another company or another brand or another dream.
Yeah, I would imagine too, especially working for such a powerful brand like Oprah,
Right.
it's like it almost dims your light. Like, yes, you're supporting that, but you lose yourself in their vision and who they are.
Well, it's super easy. It's super easy to be devoted to a mission like that and to a
Mm-hmm.
woman like that,
Mm-hmm.
and to like to take all the lessons and to do all the learning. And it's super easy to put most of your time into it, especially when there's a tendency, and I speak for myself, to avoid the things that are more difficult. And that was a joy and not difficult for me. So what's
What do you mean by that? Like to avoid the things that were more difficult?
well, you only have so many hours in a day. And so if you're working 80 or 90 hours a week, there's not much time for dating. There's not much time. I could easily say, well, I've got to skip the workout because I've got to get to work. It's complete fodder for excuse making of enormous
Yeah.
proportion. And it really is only when I began to run my own company and work on my own dream where I said meditation, working out, plant-based eating is non-negotiable. That is your work. That is your work.
So this is so fascinating because you hear a lot about people like numbing pain or avoiding with medication or whatever, but like we don't really talk about numbing it with a different, someone else's vision or career, which is interesting because it really is what I think a lot of people do. They use that as the crutch. And that like, I've got this amazing job or whatever. I'm so focused here that I can't focus on these other things.
Yes. Well, you can use anything you want as an excuse. And that was mine.
That's incredible. Yeah.
That was mine.
So, okay. So when was the turning point when you realized like, for sure, this is it. I've got to focus on myself and I'm going to create something else?
Well, I would say that was when I stepped down from OWN and launched my company with Nancy called The Pillar Life.
Mm-hmm. And were you scared, by the way, stepping down?
No, I wasn't scared because I was ready. I was ready. I was so absolutely ready. I was ready for a new dream. And Nancy's one of my best friends of 30 years. And by the way, I had been watching all of you younger people, younger women running your own brands and building your own companies. And I was like, wow, that's super brave. And that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So you saw other people doing it. So you started thinking like, this could be great. And I love that you said you weren't scared because you were stepping into a different vision.
Yeah, absolutely. It was time for a new dream.
Yeah.
It was time for a new dream. And I really wanted to, I wanted a dream come true life. I didn't want just a dream come true job. I wanted a dream come true life.
Now, there's something I talk a lot about, and I call it false assumed truths. And that means it's something that people believe that, or they hear, and that it stops them. Like a lot of women will hear I'm too old, or you're too old, or it's too late, or I'm just not meant for that. Did you battle any of those false assumed truths?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that is one of the things that, so, that intentional friendship piece is no joke. The fact that I had one of my dearest friends in the world of 30 years who was in the same place in her own way, and we were able to say, okay, here's what we're going to agree. We're going to agree on this statement, and we're going to found a company based on it. It's never too late to make the rest of your dreams come true.
Oh, I love that.
And if not now, when?
Yeah.
And the even quiet echo for me was, and if not now, maybe never. And that was like, I don't want that to be true. I don't want the rest of my years to be unlived. I want to fully inhabit this life, and I will do what it takes to make that happen. And I will become the woman who can.
So did you have people in your life saying, this is crazy, this is too late? And how did you deal with that?
No. I did not. And I'm lucky that way. I've surrounded myself with uplifters and supporters. And so, no, I did not have anything like that. The only, the voice that holds me back the most is that harsh voice in my own head. And what I have spent these last couple of years doing is really taking that voice, being kind to it, asking it to take a seat, and turning up the volume on the tender voice that tenderly wants to guide me to everything I've ever wanted.
Okay, Sheri, you're so evolved. I'm just listening to you and I'm like, she's so evolved that she knows this. And how did you know that and come to that? Because women battle this continually, this voice in their head. We have those average 60 thoughts a day of like, you can't, you're too old, it's too late, whatever. How did you know to not listen to that?
Well, my spiritual practice is Abraham Hicks, and I don't know if you're familiar with that work.
Amazing, of course.
It's amazing. And so that's 15 years for me. And I know that words matter. I know that language matters. I know that your thoughts are really your creative tools. And really, once I gave that the proper focus, and every day I make sure I'm saying that to myself, there's nothing more important that I have to get done today than pay attention and make sure I'm thinking about what I want. I'm I'm loving myself in my own language, in my own head. And I'm using that tender voice. So when I had a rough week on the road, and like, I just felt a little off. It's like, oh God, you have that third glass of Chardonnay at the United Club. Did you really need that?
Yeah.
And I could hear the harsh voice dialing up. And then I was like, nope. No, please take a seat. Please take a seat. And the tender voice came out and said, wow, all those delays really got you in a twirl.
Oh
You
my
know?
gosh.
And of course they would. And so that tender voice can bring me back to where I want to go and put me back on the path faster than that mean, harsh voice could anytime.
So good. I hope everyone's really listening to this, because it's so in your blood. I can hear it. It's like, this because of your practice for so many years, but this is such a challenge for so many people. And I want them to know that they can overcome it. So what would you tell somebody that is just, that is battling that voice right now?
Right. Well, first of all, the first word to change is to lose the struggle. Lose the language around struggle, because all it's doing is perpetuating that feeling of struggle. And really understanding that paying attention to yourself and being sweet with yourself is actually easy. It is an easy thing. And you practice and begin as if you believe it. Even if you don't, when you're saying, oh my gosh, you look so beautiful, and you did such a great job today, and you were so present for people today, you were so there for yourself today, you really followed up on things. It's kind of like this, and tell me if you can ever relate to this. I love to talk about meditation. I think meditation is the easiest way to really put you on a path to everything you've ever wanted. And I will talk about meditation till the cows come home. What's a little bit more challenging is getting myself to sit down and meditate. So I had to change my words around it, saying, I love meditate. Even if I only have 5 minutes, I'm doing it because I love it.
Now, from what I understand, you do transcendental meditation, correct?
TM.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you explain what that is for people that don't know?
Yeah. So in TM, it's 20 minutes twice a day. And, truth be told, I rarely get that second one in. And if I can get one strong 20-minute meditation in, I'm super happy. And in TM, you're trained by a TM teacher. You get a mantra, which is a Sanskrit word that makes no sense to you. And you just repeat that word until you literally transcend thought. So you just get numb. Deepak Chopra teaches it with a mantra called so hum. So on the in-breath, hum on the out-breath, and you sit quietly. And as thoughts come, you gently let them move on past. And pretty soon, you suspend thought. And what it does is it brings you to a peace you've never known, and it releases resistance. So when you come out of meditation, all of a sudden you see the possibilities, you feel more optimistic, good ideas come in. It really is such a practical tool.
Yeah. Now, did you find it took you a while to actually be able to meditate?
Well, yes, because that harsh voice was saying, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. That's not right. You don't have time to just sit here.
Yes. And I've definitely gone through it in the way that I don't know, maybe this will resonate with you or you could shed some light on this. But what I discovered for myself, and I've shared this with many people, is sometimes there's this state of odd flow you get in when you're doing something that has nothing to do with what you should be doing. So what I mean by that is, like, if I were to just go take a day and walk around shopping, like, it's amazing how much clarity I get just not focusing on my work. Or if I were to just go for a walk without anything and just focus on the trees and that's not like official meditation, but that clarity I get getting out of my own head. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. And I wanted to ask you about that, because that's what got me thinking meditation's important, because it's like when you can break your concentration on whatever it is you're stressing about.
Well, the twin practice to meditation I'm finding is appreciation. So if I can feel myself now, listen, my neural pathways of stress are well worn. The show's got to get on. The guest canceled. We got to pull it together. Oh my God, we have 6 more shows, and Oprah really wants this. And how are we going to make it happen? So I can dial myself up to 150 miles an hour in a minute, even now. And I know what that leads to. That leads to a place of being that I no longer want to inhabit. So super reactive and not proactive and not mindful. So now when I start to feel that, I just remind myself that, okay, what's my practical tool to get me back to a being place, a place of being, and not that nagging to-do list. And it usually is, wow, look at the color green in my backyard. That is so glorious. It's really beautiful. And, my English bulldogs, Bella and Kissy, they never fail to bring me to an instant place of appreciation. Or, I'm just feeling so fortunate today and so appreciative that, we're talking and we're having this conversation, because this conversation that you and I are having, we're reminding ourselves of what matters to us. And we're both going to leave this conversation, as well as everybody who's listening. Everybody's going to get their own juice from it. But I know for me, the rest of the day, I'm going to be uplifted and at a higher energetic level, because we reminded ourselves what matters to us.
Yeah. Wow. That's really insightful and powerful. Yeah. That's incredible. So yeah, just this like short, brief conversation with you has convinced me that I need to be meditating more, because I'm just loving your energy, and everything that you're saying is really landing for me. It's incredible. So, okay. So how do you then, like, cause you literally started an entire new career in the second half of your 50s. Like, you started everything new. So what were the ideas, and how did you come to that? And I love that you jumped in really without doubt, just with conviction, and it's happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you are in pursuit of happiness and feeling good, interesting ideas come your way. Like someone said, you guys you and Nancy should do a podcast. And I was like, podcast? Who listens to those? That was my ignorance, because I was such a TV girl. And then we started doing it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this seems to be fun. And, look at how easy this is. And ideas began to unfold. And then, Harper Wave, a division of HarperCollins, offered me a book contract. And I thought, well, let's see if I can dig up some nuggets. I've had a seat up front and close and personal to some of the world's most prolific wisdom keepers of our time. And I started working on that. And then Nancy and I said, well, let's build a digital platform. So honestly, here's the truth. I pursue things that feel good, that bring me joy. I do what I want with people I want to do it with, for people I want to do it with. And I find that is my current recipe for happiness.
It's so awesome. Now, do you ever get tempted by that chase again? And do you ever get scared you'll fall back into that?
Oh, totally. Totally. I mean, here's a recent example is I'm getting, of course, a lot of advice on how to launch a book. And I'm sure you've been in the same boat.
Yep.
And all of a sudden I can feel myself like I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
I need to be out like Johnny Appleseed.
Yes. With
big backpacks of books, selling them myself on the street corner. And then, I just settled myself down and said, look, not everybody else's way is your way. Here's what you did. You took it seriously. You wrote it from your heart. These are your most, your deepest truths for the moment. And now it's your offering, and you're sharing it. And what happens. I
love it. You're speaking my language right now.
You know what I'm saying.
I'm doing my book that same way. I'm over the ribbon. I'm like, I don't need to have all these things that people say you need to have.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Like, people, it's like, you've got to come up with all your freebies. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, that's probably not going to be. I'm going to offer a free chapter, and that's that.
Yes. Because otherwise we do create that chase and that rat race and that stress. And then we get away from why you actually wrote the book.
And I will honestly say, I think momentum, that momentum when you're on the river of riding your passion and your dreams are coming into focus, I think that's really great. But when you're kind of in scarcity mode and you're trying to make something happen that you're worried isn't going to happen, I don't feel like that's the recipe for success.
Oh, I love that you just said this. I just had this talk with my husband this morning. You look at like some of the top best-selling authors. They didn't have these crazy book funnels and do this and they weren't even thinking about it. They just wrote their great content and they shared it.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That's what worked.
That's right.
Yeah, so I love that you just said that. You just, in your own, without even knowing it, you just validated my mindset around that. So
Yay.
thank you. So, okay. So tell us about this book, your podcast, what you're up to now, what you're doing now.
All right. So the Sheri and Nancy Show, which is on all podcast platforms, is it's the same conversation you and I are having. So I'm having it with one of my best girlfriends ever. And we talk about everything. And basically what we are doing is going area by area. We call it the pillar life.
Okay.
Health and wellness, romance and sex, sanctuary and beauty, all the different areas of life. And we talk about what are our most current dreams and what are the practices we're putting in place to begin to make those dreams come true. And then we bring experts on to help us. We have our sex therapist, and we bring experts on. This is a hearkening back to my Oprah show days. I love an expert. To people like you who guide us and lead us and consider this, and here might be a new way to do it. But what I've come to believe is I want to put together my own recipe. So that's why I want to understand what everybody else knows or what they've learned or what their wisdom is, because I think then I can begin to put together what is the best plan for my life.
Plus,
so that's
I want everyone to hear that too, because what you just said too, it's about, you don't have to have all the answers yourself. You could facilitate and ask and learn. And I think a lot of women especially put that pressure on themselves, like they need to know it all.
No. And that's kind of the beauty of consuming content today. You can actually find there's a million things at your fingertips between podcasts and people's digital platforms and people's Facebook pages. And there's a way for you to sample the content, sample the thinking, and begin to put your own recipe together for happiness. So that's that.
Yeah.
And then the book, The Beautiful No, is a memoir. It's a memoir of from the funny to the catastrophically tragic, to all my mistakes, to everything I figured out. And that title story, The Beautiful No, is about that story I told you about how I got the job at Oprah right after I got a devastating no. And I've come to see that all the no's in our life are what happens right before the breakthrough, the dream, the manifestation. They're the things that kind of get us on the right path to what we really want. So that's why I'm really excited to share that.
Yeah. And I think so many people give up at that no. Like there's like this crossroad, you get the no, and you have a choice. You can go into I suck and that's it.
That's right.
Or you can go into what you did.
Well, and what I'm realizing now, and again, for all the younger people, if you can get this now, you're gonna have a much different life experience than I did, and it's gonna happen for you so much sooner. Which is the trick is when you get the no, being optimistic and happy and expectant in that moment.
How do you do that? Let me ask you that, because I think we hear that, but how do you do that when you're feeling down or like that nothing's working?
Well, I would say this: I would test it and prove it to yourself. And so who've lived it, who have had so many beautiful no's, and now I understand that. Even now, I have to say, "Wow, I thought that was going to work out." And from everything, wow, I thought I was going to get on that plane. Wow, I thought I was going to be in New York 2 days ago. All the no's that come my way. And I just soothe myself and say, it's going to be so fun to see why this happened. It's going to be so fun to see the gift that's around the corner here.
Now, is that instant for you, and does that take practice and work?
It's practice. It's total practice. And it's practice even now, where all of a sudden I can feel myself just about to hit bottom. It's like, nope, I can't wait to see what the gift is in this.
Oh, I love that. And I need to learn that lesson. So I'm with you.
It's practice. Everything is practice.
I share that all the time. Yeah. I feel like I and so many others will share that. Like that's what we do. But there is that gap of the few months of beating yourself up. But I feel like they do get shorter. Like you start.
Well, that's the spiritual practice, is closing the gap. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to close the gap. And you'd say, why are you trying to close the gap? So you're happier. So your life experience is better. So you don't lose weeks and months at a time in depression and sadness and disappointment, because you know that everything's working out for you.
Yeah, you do sound like Abraham Hicks right now. So
Oh
I
my
could
God.
tell that you're
Listen, it's my fuel. It's my
yeah.
fuel.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome. Oh my gosh. I'm so impressed by you. I could talk on the phone with you all day right now. I could listen to you all day. This is incredible.
I know we're
So,
having a good talk.
yeah, you are really the epitome of what I say aging in reverse. Like here you are. You said you were 59 years old and you're just thriving and like there's no stopping you. And I want people to really hear that because you are not too old and it's not too late, no matter where you are, to
Never.
turn things around. It's incredible.
It's only too late when you stop breathing.
Yeah, I love
Right?
it. I love it. What's next for you? And what are you focusing on? What's your biggest focus right now?
Well, honestly, my biggest focus is continuing to expand and elevate my life.
Mm-hmm.
So to make they're little things, make my meditation even more solid. I just moved to Napa Valley, so now I'm living
Beautiful.
this little
Yeah.
small town life, and I'm building some gardens. So I'm gonna make my own salads and make my own plant-based stuff, which I'm really excited. But I want to learn and grow and keep that life force moving,
Mm-hmm.
and that those are the priorities. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I take care of those things, I'm a better daughter. I'm a better friend. I'll be a better romantic partner. I'm like just putting my vibe out all over the place.
I
And
love
then,
that.
and work comes from that,
Yeah.
like, and
And that's
everything else comes
critical
from that.
because I think people listening would say, that sounds great. I would love to have my own garden and make my own salads, but I have work. But what I'm hearing you say is you live the life first and then your best work and creativity comes from that.
That's exactly right. Because I could have been doing all this when I worked 80 or 90 hours a week at the Oprah show. I chose not to. I didn't have kids to raise. So, and that can be a big excuse for people to be like, well, you didn't have kids to raise. Okay. But I had other things. I had aging parents and I had, family things coming up that I had to take care of.
Mhm.
Um, I had a full load on my plate working 80 or 90 hours a week, but I didn't have to zone out in front of cable
Sure.
news and depress myself. I didn't have to order, yet another pizza and have that second bottle of Chardonnay.
Yeah.
I could have been doing my meditation,
Yeah.
my workout, and my salad making.
Yes, we
But
all
I chose not to. But
and
now I'm
yeah,
choosing something different because I want a different life. I want the
yes.
life of my dreams.
Yes, and listen up, all you single moms out there, because I was a single mom, and I get this too. Like,
Yeah,
even if you're not, you have the kids. There's always time. That is a story. You're absolutely right. Because
it
I mean,
is a
how many times
story.
do we put the kid in front of the iPad to go do our like? There's time. There's time.
Right. There is time.
Yes.
There is time. You decide, you decide. And what I realize is all those things are choices. The minute
Mhm.
we start to believe that we don't have free time, we're not in the gulag. We all have free time. And even if you can barely pay your bills, and I've been there many times,
Mhm.
and you feel trapped as can be, that is a prison of your own making, because we are free to choose.
Mhm. Speak into that for a moment. Okay, because you remember being in that moment, like, so if you are somebody that is in that spot that is can't pay your bills, or somebody's listening that's in that spot and they're having that story go on in their head right now, like, but I really don't have the time. What
Right.
would you tell that person? What would you tell you in that moment, knowing what you know now?
Well, so if I'm talking to myself where I couldn't make my $24 Montgomery Ward's TV payment, and
Mhm.
I'd be nervous in the grocery store line that I'd have to put something back because I wouldn't
Yep.
have enough money. I would say to that person, first of all, it's all going to be okay and
Mhm.
everything's working out for you. But
Mhm.
you do have time to take 5 minutes and listen to your breath. You do have that time.
Mm.
You do have 15 minutes to go take a walk and clear your mind. You do have the ability to be mindful in whatever you're doing. And you do have the choice to decide to be uplifted and be an uplifter. And you can kind of say, oh, this world is going to hell in a handbasket, or I want to do something to change the world. Your own happiness changes the world. So that's what I would say to my younger self. Choose
Mhm.
happiness, make happiness your compass in small ways and in big ways, and that's your contribution to the whole.
Gosh, this is so good. I love this. Okay, I do have another question for you that I ask
Okay.
every guest on this
Okay.
show, and I'm curious your answer on this. If somebody's listening to this and they're on their own personal rock bottom, whatever that is, maybe it's the food, the waiting in line, whatever it is, maybe they are in that rabbit of chasing and they just got laid off, whatever it is, their own personal rock bottom. If you were going to give them 3 pieces of advice right now to start shifting things and leveling up and creating everything from nothing, what would you tell them?
One of my little tricks is I pat my right thigh with my hand and I say, there, it's all going to be okay.
Oh, I like
There,
that.
it's all going to be okay. I soothe myself, and I will sit there and soothe myself until I literally feel a little bit of a shift. Number 2, I would make time 5 minutes a day for a little dreaming. And sometimes that's hard when you feel like the world is falling in on your head. But if you can clear a little 5-minute space and what a little dream, just begin to stir the dream pot a little bit, because that emotion of hope, that's the transformer. That's when you start to literally feel yourself rise like a balloon. And once you rise like a balloon, you begin to see that all these petty, small concerns aren't your real focus, that you need to lift your eyes up to the bigger view of your life. And dreaming again, it's what makes that possible. And third, you need to drink a lot of water.
Drink a lot of water. Explain that.
Oh my God. I know. Well, nobody thinks it's a big deal, including me. I'd be like, I don't like water. I'd rather have pop. I don't like water. I'd rather do this. But water with a little lemon in it and like about 80, 90 ounces a day, you literally start to feel your physicality being cleared of vibration. You literally can feel you're like flushing out the negativity, and it makes you feel good to do that. So one little physical feel good, a little dreaming, a little soothing, and you're on your way.
I love that. You know, it's funny you say that about the water, and I'm a big advocate for water, and I tell people and I preach it all the time, but every single day I keep a gratitude journal, and every morning I talk about gratitude. Every night I talk about what would have made today better. And I don't think I've gone one day in the last year of not writing, I wish I drank more water. So it's funny that you're saying that.
Because you know.
But I also know the power of it. And I also do not do enough, you know, and I tell myself I'm committed. I need to make that happen. So I love that you just said that. Oh my gosh, Sheri, where can people find you? Where do you want them to follow you? Where can they buy your book? You mentioned your podcast. They can listen to that everywhere. Tell us where.
Yes. Okay. So the book, there's a website for the book. It's called thebeautifulno.com.
Thebeautifulno.com. Got it.
And it's available for pre-order. Apparently that's very important, as you know. And our website is thepillarlife.com, where you can find all kinds of free stuff on there. That's, basically the things that Nancy and I are creating to have this very conversation that you and I are having. And then we talk about it a couple times a week on our podcast, The Sheri and Nancy Show.
I love it. And are you active on social media at all?
I am. I've been telling some funny tales on Instagram, and that's at Sheri Salata. I've been kind of on a little pre-launch book thingy with some speaking, and I just had some hilarious things where I literally packed two gigantic suitcases and I had one thing to wear. So for 10 days, I wore the same outfit.
I'm diving in this afternoon. I need to see this. And same outfit for 10 days. Is that what you just said?
Yes. My Cynthia Rowley black dress. And I had 2 gigantic suitcases to lug around America. It was super embarrassing.
And I'm looking at your Instagram right now as I'm speaking, and you look like you're 10. So I don't know how this 59 thing came in. So
that's funny. Good. It's water.
Yeah, water. Thank you so much, Sheri.
I loved our chat, and let's talk soon.
Thank you. Thanks for leveling up with us today. Please share this episode if you found it helpful so others can join in. And don't forget to hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on future shows. And if you would leave me a 5-star review, I appreciate those so much. I read all of them, and it's how I know that I'm giving you information that you find valuable. And come interact with me over on Instagram at NatalieJillFit. I read all the direct messages and comments over there. Make it a great day, creating everything from nothing.